Yo, that's my fellow virtual boy A1 like 6 hosts can never take a motherfucking loss. Today, we're gonna react to the fucking fighting business. As always, I'm not energetic today because I'm really just, I'm on fucking ice, bro. You feel me? Yeah, today we're reacting to the fight business. The truth behind Dana White's biggest glazing campaign. Holy shit. I won't say Dana White is a glazer, but he got his moments. But I understand where you're coming from because, like, he making fucking money off these niggas, but...
You have to answer this. You can't duck this. Who's been your favorite?
Jon Jones.
My favorite? Yes.
Dana White will always have his favorites in a fight game. He'll tell you that he doesn't care about who wins in every media scrum, but we know the truth. Dana White has his golden boys. And it makes sense. I mean, the dude owns this company.
One of my other favorites was Ronda Rousey.
Remember when Ronda Rousey was marketed as Floyd Mayweather's doom?
You guys love to drag the Floyd Mayweather thing. Ronda would ragdoll him. You think?
Back in the day was just crazy.
I know.
Or when Conor McGregor was allowed to hold up 2 divisions for nearly 2 years. How about when a roided Brock Lesnar mauled Mark Hunt at UFC 200? Whatever Tony said.
I'm gonna be real. You got the attitude. You got Dana White privilege.
For real though, the now CEO of the UFC has done his fair share of glazing, but I believe Dana White has now hit the mother load.
No matter what you think of Jon Jones, relax. He's the fucking best ever. He can have the fight.
The campaign has effectively turned the entire MMA community against Jon Jones.
So is Jon Jones not the GOAT?
And derailed the division of the baddest dudes in the world. But even with MMA fans flooding social media with hate and the heavyweight division rotting in limbo, Dana White has shown no signs of relenting. Why? I'll tell you why.
Fighting business is one of my favorite
channels right now.
To the fighting business, absolutely amazing.
Francis is in a place right now where he doesn't want to take a lot of risk.
In early 2023, the heavyweight champion of the UFC, Francis Ngannou, decided to dip and walk away from reportedly stupid money. The contractual saga between Francis and the UFC had been going on for a while, and despite a lot of money on the table, Ngannou chose freedom, and Dana White
and just got knocked out by Anthony Joshua and never was heard of again since the Joe Rogan podcast. He should have just took that money, bro. But I understand where he's coming from.
did not like it.
I don't just think that, oh, I'm Francis Ngannou. I'm a fighter, and I believe that a fighter is the one that make that company.
I think the way that the business is set up, like, they pay you whatever they want to pay you.
He was livid, actually.
Francis doesn't want to fight these two guys now. Am I the only one that this whole thing is just a bunch of bullshit?
See, Dana White hates to lose, and if you dare say no to him,
If I'm Jon Jones and I'm home watching this fight, I start moving to 85.
he will do everything he can to erase your legacy from the public's consciousness.
Francis didn't want to fight Jon Jones.
But I think his hatred for Francis Ngannou is more than just professional and bleeds into his personal life, because the moment Francis Ngannou left the UFC, Dana White did a complete 180 on Jon Jones.
Being the greatest of all time doesn't mean you get $30 million. Being able to sell. Jon Jones has done a lot of things to himself. He's saying, in one of his tweets, he was saying that I tarnished you? You've done a very good job of tarnishing you.
For the record, Jones himself was locked in a contractual battle with Dana White.
I tell you guys this all the time. If you can say you want to fight somebody, but do you really want to?
One thing about UFC, y'all, is that the UFC has banger after banger. Sometimes, some weekends, only because Dana White probably doesn't pay him as much. And there's reasons why, because you probably give a fighter $10 million, you're going to turn to Conor McGregor. Not going to want to fight. This is why UFC is the best fighting business right now.
With Francis gone, Dana White and Jon Jones came to an instant agreement.
And Jon Jones has been willing and ready and able to fight anybody. He didn't care who it was. Could have been anybody in the heavyweight division. He was ready to go.
And the light heavyweight GOAT returned at UFC 285, defeating Cyril Gane in minutes to capture the vacant heavyweight title. It was a glorious night indeed. After 3 years off, Jones reminded everyone why he was one of the greatest fighters of all time.
The GOAT!
He was now en route to conquering the heavyweight division, and his first victim was Stipe Miocic.
Stipe Miocic, I hope you're training, my guy. You're the greatest heavyweight of all time, and that's what I want.
On paper, Stipe was the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, but he had not fought in years, and his last fight was a bad KO loss to Francis. It was not the ideal choice for the first title defense, but might as well get it over with. pushed as the greatest light heavyweight versus the greatest heavyweight. This fight was scheduled for UFC 295 at Madison Square Garden, but 1 month before the event,
We know who saved the event.
Jon Jones withdrew with a pectoral injury. And UFC scrambled to fix the card.
You know, Jon Jones was training last night, got injured, he was wrestling, and he tore the tendon that connects your...
You heard that?
Got injured, he was wrestling, and he tore the tendon that connects your pec to the bone, off the bone.
Because this nigga too fucking big. He probably can't even throw a kick no more, bro.
Jon Jones was training last night, got
Keep fucking grabbing.
injured, he was wrestling, and he tore the tendon that connects your pec to the bone, off the bone.
The light heavyweight co-main was promoted to the last fight on the card, and the new co-main featured an interim title fight between two of the most destructive heavyweights on the roster, Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich.
Number 2 versus number 4 in the heavyweight division for the interim heavyweight title.
Took the fight on a month's notice and was coming in injured. Aspinall had no problem accepting it, and it took him 1 minute to dispatch the most feared heavyweight at that time. A new interim champion was crowned at UFC 295, rendering the title held by Jon Jones as disputed. The next step was obvious, a title unification bout between Jones and Aspinall, but something was off.
So he can see them coming. Where they parked, he can see them coming. So they don't know what to do with him. They hide him underneath the cage. Jon Jones hides under the cage.
I mean, he tweeted a whole lot, probably defending his heavyweight title against Thanos in some alternate dimension, as he unleashed on Twitter, calling himself the greatest. His fight with Miocic the biggest, but he did not accept a challenge from Tom Aspinall, dismissing it purely because Aspinall was not popular enough. This is where the UFC president, Dana White, is supposed to step in and preserve order in the division. You had the interim champion willing, even desperate to unify the belt, and the other champion was simply not interested. Dana White had one job to do here: force Jones to fight Aspinall or strip him of the title if he refuses to. Guess what he did?
So Jones said, I want to fight Stipe. I said, you're fighting Stipe. Yeah, it's Stipe.
Not only was Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic still the fight to make, Dana White, who had no problem stripping the titles of Yuri and Hill, allowed Jon Jones to keep the belt because that fight with Stipe just had to happen. But this is allowed fight to make. Dana White, who had
Yuri said he was going to vacate the title himself due to a soul injury because he called and he actually said something on Twitter. He was like, yeah, I want to give up the title, vacate the title because I want the division to keep continuing.
No problem stripping the title.
And Jamal did the same thing.
Allowed Jon Jones to keep the belt because that fight with Stipe just had.
Or did he? Is it something I don't know?
Had to happen.
But this is where the perception and reception shifted. Jones versus Stipe made just barely enough sense a year ago, but with Aspinall now the interim champion, the little interest in that matchup fell apart real quick.
The real number one's between Jon and Stipe. That's insane.
Stipe Miocic was past his prime, and his last fight, which took place years ago, was a loss to Francis Ngannou. Aspinall, meanwhile, was young, hungry, and a wrecking ball.
Then give me Stipe and I'm out of here, dude. I'm not fighting this fucking British monster. What's wrong with you? And ruin my legacy?
In every interview, he made it clear he wanted to fight Jon Jones. He wanted to fight them all.
I'm not living this like crazy lifestyle or nothing. I'm just still focused on the task at hand. I got a lot of work left to do in this division, so we're just scratching the surface now.
Not even 1 year after his grand return at UFC 285, Jones regained his place as public enemy number 1 for his refusal to face Tom Aspinall and his selfishness in holding the division and the belt hostage. But Jones lashed out at them in return, even going as far as messaging random critics to flex his 2 mentions or some shit. I don't know, but as of today, the MMA community is pretty much united against Jones, but the current disputed heavyweight champion has nothing to fear because Dana White, for some insane reason, still has his back and remains his biggest fan.
I'm going to say it right here, right now. The greatest fighter to ever live.
It's Jon Jones.
It's fucking Jon Jones. He's never been beat.
Who do you think is the greatest UFC fighter of all time?
Jon Jones. He's fought all the baddest dudes in the world. And then when you think about what pound for pound rankings really mean, he moved it up to heavyweight and destroyed the best guy in the world.
Promoting a fighter, a champion fighter at that, is a massive part of a promoter's job description, and Jones, one of the best of all time, does deserve the praise, but promoting over a fighter is one thing. obsessing over a fighter, even Jon Jones, is just stupid.
At UFC 302, Islam had defended his lightweight title in a classic against Dustin Poirier, demonstrating that he was rightfully regarded as the pound-for-pound king. But instead of praising Islam for his heart, skill, and activity, Dana White spent half the press conference dismissing Islam as the pound-for-pound best and glazing Jones, who had effectively derailed an entire division.
Cause he just fucking grab all fucking day, nigga. That's why.
I think he's incredible. I don't think he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. For anybody to call Islam the pound for pound best fighter in the world when Jon Jones is still fighting is nuts and shouldn't be ranking in the pound for pound or doing any of the rankings ever.
UFC 303, Alex Pereira, one of the most popular
Okay, that sounded kind of crazy.
stars in the company, stepped up when he was called and delivered a stellar knockout over Yuri to save
This nigga the real pound for pound. Yama.
the event. And what does Dana White do at the press conference?
As an educated adult, Jon Jones is the pound for pound. I'm not defending Jon Jones. In the world and the greatest fighter. He is the greatest fighter in the world.
Dana White's obsessive support for Jon Jones has undeniably pissed off the MMA community and left the heavyweight division in a state of chaos. But I'm sure in the next post-fight press conference, no matter who has won, Dana White will remind you that Jon Jones walks out of the room every single time.
There's no doubt about that the guy's got the talent. But when you start talking, he won this fight tonight, he could be the greatest of all time. Again, you know how I feel about Jon Jones.
All of this can be traced back to when Francis left and Dana White, enraged that many considered him the best heavyweight in the world, decided to run a counter-campaign with Jon Jones presented as the best heavyweight in the world. Buckle up, because as we approach UFC 309, the event planned for Jon Jones' return, this is going to get a lot worse. Thank you for watching the entire video, and a special shout out to the Patreon members who help support.
Damn. So when do y'all think Jon Jones actually is like gonna fight? Next year? When Conor McGregor's gonna fight? Next year?